Hello everybody, and welcome back to another new vlog. Thank you for joining me today. I want to talk about depth of field and hyperfocal distance in this vlog, and I know some of you might be asking exactly what those two things are. Well, hopefully using this little scene behind me I can try and demonstrate both of those to you. First of all, the definition of depth of field basically is the area within your image which is acceptably in focus. So first of all, there's a small hut just in front of me out onto the pond just here, the other side of the pond, and the idea here is that I want to shoot this at 17mm, but I also want to shoot with the manual focus on, and I'm going to focus just on the hut itself. So in those first two images I've shot one where I'm focusing solely on the hut itself, and then I've shot one where I'm focusing to infinity. There should be a very slight difference at the front or the bottom of the frame, which will show you the difference between the two images, where in the one image you've got slightly less in focus at the very front or the bottom of the frame, and in the other you've got slightly more in focus. So you'll see this scene in front of me. I've got this tree-lined path with a fence on the one side of it, and I've got obviously the trees running along the left hand side of the scene, and the idea here is that I'm shooting with an f/16 aperture at 17mm. Now with an f/16 aperture, that's obviously a much narrower aperture, and I know that using depth of field, that means that there'll be much more of the scene in focus, or much more of the focus area in focus when I'm focused on a particular area. So I've tried that and focused on the trees on the left hand side. I focused on, I think, the first or second tree just in front of me, and then I've also decided to focus to infinity and take a shot of each of those, and I'll show you the images now, and hopefully you'll be able to see that there's obviously a difference in where the focus point is. So as you can see with these images, I've also shot that scene at 40mm as well, so I can try and give you a comparison of depth of field and hyperfocal distance in that situation. So with this tree in front of me, for example, if I want the whole of the tree to be in focus, I use my depth of field calculation to do that. Now obviously if I shoot with a very narrow aperture of f/16, the tree will be in focus right from the front of the tree here to the back of the tree, and that's because the depth of field is determining how much of that image is in focus. Well, if I were to use the hyperfocal distance calculator as well, shooting at 17mm as I am at the moment with an f/16 aperture, that means that I can focus at the very closest point possible. If I were to change my aperture to a much wider aperture of say f4 or f5.6, I wouldn't be able to focus on the front of the tree at all. So the first point that would be in focus would probably be a good half or possibly even 2/3 along the length of the tree. Well, I wasn't expecting that. I'm about 50 yards away from a freight line rail line at the moment. It's not used for passengers, but while I was standing here about to record some more footage for you, a train went past, and it was a freight train, so I couldn't actually hear myself think, and you wouldn't have heard the audio either. Anyway, I've had to step back about 10 or 12 feet now from the tree to try and shoot this tree at 40mm instead, and this will also alter the depth of field and hyperfocal distance, and I'm going to show you a couple of examples now. So just to recap, basically depth of field is the amount of your image which can be in focus all at once, and hyperfocal distance is basically the nearest point at which you can focus with your lens. Both of these things will be determined by aperture and by the focal length of your lens. If that's been helpful, please let me know and write a comment in the comments box below. And if you've enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on another vlog very soon.